Yes. I'm always like, did it work? Did I remember everything? The answer is, yes, I did this time. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Fiona. I use she, her pronouns, and this is Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPG, in which, for an hour or two, I take an RPG. Good lord, that violin is loud. Let me turn that down for myself. There we go. Maybe I'll just change a track. Let's go for dark messages. That might be better. ? Where for an hour or two, sorry, when I'm not doing tech stuff, you can... I've turned all the music off now. Very good, as you can tell, we're all doing it as well as we can do in these circumstances. But this is a stream where I will pick an RPG from my many RPGs, and I'll go through it. Usually it's one that I've not either played or run, because I do run tabletop RPGs sometimes for money. Not all the time, though, which is a shame. Yeah, that's not too bad, is it? Less aggressive violence. What else was I going to say? Yes, so I go through my RPGs and I will read them as a way of just learning about the game mechanics, what kind of like stories we can tell with them, anything like a sort of like accessible stuff as well, because that's always quite important in this day and age of like online RPGs as well as in-person RPGs. And yeah, we just go through that. Hope you're doing all very well, my friends. She says, trying to look at the stuff. Yep, there we go. Yes, it is incredibly rainy here today in the capital. Miserable, I would say, from the Isle of Dogs, looking at here. And I've been very busy going through all of my things. Thankfully, I washed my hands before I came onto this stream. They were sort of black with dust. Dust, not black mold, I will have you know. But I've done it. I've finally gone through all the bits in this bedroom. I took several bags to the charity shop / the clothing recycling place. I have some stuff to take into work. Louder. Grafty Gobbo, absolutely not. Yeah, joke, I get you. What was I going to say? And so that was all done. So this room is now ready for the movers to come and take all my stuff away across the ocean, which is terrifying, but also I feel a lot more prepared than I did 3 days ago, which is all good. Other than that, like I said, it's raining outside. Obviously, happy Mother's Day to those who celebrate it. I spoke to my own mother just before coming on stream, and she was saying how much she enjoyed the books I bought her 3 weeks ago, which I'm like, that's how prepared I am. That said, I didn't realise that the clocks went forward in the US today, so my partner and I were off by an hour, and that's going to be fun for the next couple of weeks, so great. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well, no matter where you are and what you're doing this a wonderful Sunday. But today, friends, the random number generator came up with Tales from the Loop, which is an RPG by our wonderful friends over at Free League, which has been inspired by an art book as well. And I'm sure most people here who watch this channel or know RPGs do know of Tales from the Loop, but I have to admit, I have never read Tales from the Loop or played it. And it's one of those games where I'm like, oh, it looks really good. And then just never come back to it, unfortunately. It is inspired by this art book, which then I feel has then also inspired stuff like Stranger Things. That's another sort of touchstone that people will probably get as well when looking at it. It also has a sort of sequel or slightly sort of extension, I guess, called Things from the Flood, whereby you are in Tales from the Loop, you're playing sort of younger children. So you think about that sort of kids on bikes, sort of, yeah, the proper sort of first 2 seasons of maybe Stranger Things. And then you go up to Things from the Flood, which is sort of more teenager aged as well. So there's lots for different people, I would say, which is quite good. And of course, it's sci-fi. What's also quite cool about it is that Tales from the Loop obviously has sort of 2 different settings. One that's sort of set in Sweden, and the other that's set in the US as well. And with an expansion that came out, which is, I can't remember. I'll look at it when we get to it. There's one that's set in the UK as well, which is always exciting when they do that. So that is what we're going to look at today. Specifically, we're going to look at the starter set for today, because there is a starter set out for Tales from the Loop. I think it might be sold out quite a few places, the physical one. But what I will say is that Drive-Thru RPG has it for a shockingly low price of, or normal price of about £3.50. But obviously with the GM sale, it's going all the way on till the end of today, about £2.80, which I got it for about half an hour before the stream, because I didn't realise I hadn't got it. I got the physical copy, didn't have the digital copy. So, with all that out of the way, let us go. First of all, we're going to go on to the game page itself. Goodbye, Big Fiona. Hello, Tiny Fiona. There we go. So first of all, obviously you probably recognise some of the artwork that is used there. Ooh, that's so cool. The Free League Publishing website, they've changed it so it's all very interactive with the mouse clicks, which is quite cool. But yes, this is a sci-fi game set in the 80s. So, role-playing in the 80s that never was. In 1954, the Swedish government ordered the construction of the world's largest particle accelerator. This facility was completed in 1969, located deep under the pastoral countryside of, oh dear, Mälaröarna, ? The local population called this marvel of technology the Loop. In this role-playing game, you play teenagers in the late 1980s, solving mysteries connected to the Loop. Choose from between character types such as the Bookworm, the Troublemaker, the Popular Kid, and the Weirdo. Well, tag yourself there. I'm just saying, I don't know, it sounds like me. Everyday life is full of nagging parents. God, don't I know it. And then it turns out then you're the parents after all. Never-ending homework and classmates bullying and be bullied. Explore the secrets of the Loop in two main game settings, one based in the Swedish Mälaren Islands, or the other on Boulder City, Nevada. The mysteries let characters encounter the strange machines and weird creatures that have come to haunt the countryside after the Loop was built. The kids get to escape their everyday problems and be a part of something meaningful and magical, but also dangerous. In the UK, kids on Roleplaying BMXs? Oh, absolutely. Look at that. Again, their website's very cool now. We've got all these very cinematic sort of like active artwork there as well. Whoa, so slow down. What did that say? Winner of 5 Emmy Awards in 2017. God, that was a bit longer time ago, wasn't it? Gosh, 7 years ago. Yes, so this is it. So the Simon Stalenhag is the international lauded artist and author of Tales from the Loop and Things from the Flood, narrative art books that stunned the world with the vision of an alternative Scandinavia in the 1980s and 90s, where technology invaded tranquil landscapes. Oh wait, I know it wouldn't. I know it wouldn't at Emmys. To form an entirely new universe of the eerie and the nostalgic, which has also gone on to, because obviously we've got coming out, I think later this year, we've got The Electric State, which is again similar sort of vibes in terms of that artwork. Which as well, I think the RPG's coming out. I think the art book may already be out. I'm not sure, but it's also been made into a TV series with Millie Bobby Brown in it, I think. So, Tales from the Loop RPG was released in 2017 and was a big hit, winning no less than 5 golden Emmys, including Best Game and Product of the Year. In this tabletop role-play game, you play teenagers solving spectacular mysteries connected to the Loop. Just make sure you're in your home in time for dinner. How cracking is that image, huh? Yeah, so already, I like how, you know, this artwork has then now inspired a whole setting and a whole RPG as a result of it. And I know that's, from what I briefly read about online, is that the Kickstarter for the actual art books themselves had this RPG as a stretch goal. And then they had to do another sort of Kickstarter to actually include like, hey, let's get the starter set, let's get more expansions and stuff. And it blew past all of their expectations, which is pretty cool. So, the core book contains several complete mysteries to play and a complete campaign setting, which unfortunately we're not going to look at that today per se, but also it has that alternate setting in the US location. And here we go, there's some more images and some products as well. So yeah, like I said, we're going to be looking at particularly the starter set and just getting straight into it, getting out sort of quick, let's go. So yes, you can grab this from the Free League Publishing website, but also I think if I go to shop products, let me show you what else we got. There we go. They grow up so fast. So that is the UK one. I think there's a bit based in. Well, I can read it out in a second, can't I? Got the core edition, and we've got some extra editions there. So we've got Our Friends, the Machines, and Other Mysteries, which is like a little anthology of scenarios. Got Out of Time Compendium, and we've got They Grow Up So Fast. And then it goes into the sort of extra bits and pieces there as well. Oh yeah, you get your D6. So yes, it is a D6 system. Things on the Flood GM screen there. That's quite nice, isn't it? So yeah, it's going to be. We have discussed the Year Zero engine quite a bit recently. Did we not look at something? Oh, we looked at Vaesen, didn't we? I looked at Vaesen again recently. So the system might be very similar to what we've covered Might be a bit similar to what we've covered in a couple of streams earlier, but it's always good to go back over it and just make sure we've got it right as well. The idea of an attribute plus skill equals the dice pool, and 6s are successes, right? But let's look at the they grew up so fast. Wow, what great artwork. You're just going to hear me say that all the time. So, what does it say here? So yeah, like I said, this is the latest expansion that they've got. They grow up so fast, which I believe is UK-based. Oh, in the Norfolk Broads. You can see it there. Everything changed on that fateful day. Looking back, I know that whatever we did changed our lives forever. The sky ruptured and something strange came through. It was a great adventure that showed us how little we knew about the universe. It was scary, yet magical. I wish we could do it again. In these 4 adventures that form a campaign spanning the seasons of the year. Yes, I do remember this now. The kids will be tested to the limits of their ability. When an ordinary camping trip turns into something else, they will discover that friends come in all sizes and forms, and even from different worlds. Together, they will go on an adventure they will never forget. Yes, so set in the UK loop of the Norfolk Broads, and extensive information on the Norfolk Broads loop and the area surrounding it, and how to set this particular campaign both in the Swedish and US loops as well. So once, so easily enough. Oh my goodness, I was just checking what that artwork there is. Gorgeous. Sorry, you guys can't see it. There you go. Absolutely cracking artwork there. So yeah, so I like how with 3D games, they are publishing they are publishing source books or material that you can use wherever is native to where you are. And admittedly, though, it is very EU and UK centric, because that's obviously where they're based, as well as obviously appealing to an American audiences. But it would be quite nice to see, like, oh, can we have loops in other places around the world, other continents, that sort of thing. Would be just quite interesting to know. Maybe that's something they will think about in the future. But we've got to look forward to the electric state. God, words. The electric state, which is coming up. All right, enough of this. Let's get rid of the. Where are you, Chrome? Goodbye, Chrome. Hello, Tales from the Loop. So yeah, as I've said several times now, we are looking at the Tales from the Loop starter set. So this is the rules. It says read first, which is always good. The rules themselves in the starter set, it's only 33 pages long, which is great. I will also say it comes with a scenario called the Recycle Boy. We won't look at that per se. There is also a beautiful area map, both of the Swedish setting and then of the US setting in Nevada. So again, quite nice to print that out, have that to hand, or put it on your VTT. But also, we do have we got some pre-generated character sheets that came from it. So obviously, the starter set, you were just given them. So it's unlikely, obviously, there's not going to be any rules to do character creation in the starter set, which is fine. But what we'll do, whilst we're going through the actual rules, we'll use the character sheets as a reference. That sounds good from there. Alrighty. Let's take a big swig of tea and we'll go on our way, shall we? So we've got our credits there, which is good. We've got illustrations from the actual artist as well. Creator of the Loop universe. It's nice to get credits there as well. Nils, have we spoken to Nils where? No, but we've covered some of their work before. Tomas, of course, we've had him on Where before. He came to talk about Dragonbane, I was glad we covered that on here because I like Dragonbane quite a lot. All right, straight into it. Let's zoom out a bit. I do quite like the sort of chapter headings they have that make it, again, if you were just flicking through, you could easily find the chapter you're looking for, which is good. And then also, yeah, and then in between, oh, look, it's linked as well. That's pretty good. And yeah, being able to then go to the section you need to go to. So Tales from the Loop, role-playing, how does it work, rolling dice, and principles of the loop. All right, let's get into it. Ooh. Right. So, welcome to the loop. The landscape was full of machines and scrap metal connected to the facility in one way or another. Always present on the horizon were the colossal cooling towers of the Boulder reactor, with their green obstruction lights. If you put your ear to the ground, you could hear the heartbeat of the loop, the purring of the graviton, a central piece of engineering magic, which was the focus of the loop's experiments. Oh, it's a little, okay, it's a little prologue. Okay, I like that. So we were on our way home from school when all the lights in town went out, one by one. As we biked in silence through the dark neighborhoods, we hardly saw any people. My best friend Erin didn't want to go home alone, so instead she came along to the house where I and my little sister lived. Hey, great haircut that. Thank you, Dead Toothbrush, thank you. You are the third person that's noticed. Even my mum didn't notice until right at the end of a call I had with her. But yes, thank you. Yeah, I had it. Sorry, we'll come back to this in a second. So I went yesterday. I thought I'd treat myself to a haircut, and then I went and I cut it, and I was like, yes, I will rock this page boy look for a little bit. And it's obviously it's grown on me over time. But yeah, I was like, oh no, have mistakes been made? And the barber, bless them, they were like, and I was also like, The hair always grows back, so it's all good. But thank you, Dead Toothbrush. I hope you're doing well, my friend. I saw your minis earlier. They look fantastic. I'm like, yes, good. Everyone's going to be painting minis. I actually put my minis away recently, because obviously with the move and stuff, but they're all there waiting for the other end when we get to do our painting streams. Classic parents not noticing, eh? I mean, you know, it is Mother's Day, so that's why I had to bring and be like, be good, and then not be like, notice anything else about me? Oh, well, by gum, friend, I'll do indeed, JC Darcy. You are perceived, my friend. How are you doing? I was just talking about they grow up so fast, that expansion, because I remember at one point you were talking about running that. I don't know if that's still a secret or not, and doing all three things throughout the year. Because yes, today we're looking at Tales from the Loop. We're doing the starter set. Literally just got in, so at one point, stop spamming. Oh, how strange. I like it. Oh, well, thank you, Dead True Fries. I appreciate the comment on the hair. Very much appreciate it. How strange that you should mention. Oh, I see. Aha. Fair enough. Wow. I look forward to any messages that come my way afterwards. But I'll be interested to see any final results of that, because I've not read it through. Maybe take a look at the socials today. Oh, how interesting, JC Darcy. Well, this has been a bit of a kismet of stuff then. I'll make sure my phone is on and charged then. Anyway, as we were sort of saying, so yes, we're looking at the quick start today, the starter set, and we're just going to go through that and play through, because I will say I've never played Tales from the Loop, or even read it. I have played, as I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, I have played Things from the Flood, like a 2-shot, and I very, very much enjoyed it. But I never got into the nitty-gritty of the setting. And I appreciate with the starter set, you're not going to look at the setting too much. But yeah, I've collected all the stuff, and I know this, and now I know the system, so it's all good, isn't it? I know. So, where were we? So, when we got there, I felt something was wrong. We stopped outside the gate. It was fall, but the leaves had not yet fallen from the trees. Wind was blowing through the crown of a huge apple tree in the front garden. That's where we had our hideout. A tree house with a rope ladder that can be pulled up to prevent unwanted intruders, like our parents. Yeah, fuck them. Wait, dinner? Oh, shit. Just as I was about to open the gate and lead my bicycle up to the house, my best friend Erin stopped me. Look, she said, pointing up to a large shadow next to the apple tree. It's watching the street. As I kept staring at it, I realised it was a robot, one of the waste disposal models from the construction site across town. It had made a huge hole in the hedge. Oh no! And now its head was moving from side to side, watching and waiting. I was about to turn and sneak away when I heard someone scream from inside the house. It was my mother. Oh well, happy Mother's Day. All the cool kids have tree houses. Hello, individual. How are you doing, my friend? Yes, you know what? That's actually brought back a core memory. I remember begging my dad to like put a tree house in a tree. But the trees that we kept pointing to in our garden, they were proper the flimsy kinds, like that would not be able to host anything. So in the end, bless him, what he did was that he built a shed for me to go and sit in. I mean, we had some great summers in that shed, but it wasn't the same. It's like a ground floor flat full of spiders and stuff, rather than I don't know, a first floor flat, which would also had spiders and stuff. Everyone knows that you've been trapped. Great, well, carry on chatting, don't mind me. And then we've got the play example as well, which we won't read through. We've got some custom dice included, but it's D6s, so you can use normal D6s as well. But the custom dice support the game mechanics and are a nice visual prop. Oh, thanks for letting us know. So this story is an example of what can happen when you play Tales from the Loop role-playing game, which takes place in the fantastic universe created by Simon Stalenhag. A role-playing game is a conversation between you and your friends to build a story with a beginning, middle, and end. A typical story takes between 3 to 6 hours of play. Yes. But what if it took all day? Often you'll sit at a table and you need paper, pens, and at least 10-sided, 6-sided dice. In this game, a story is called a mystery. It deals with a group of friends who try and solve mysteries together. The kids are aged between 10 and 15 years old, living in an alternate 1980s. Everyday life is full of nagging parents, never-ending homework, and classmates bullying and being bullied. Again, maybe wouldn't use that as a way to advertise this game. Again, it's trying to fit into that Stranger Things sort of like, it's the 80s, but we don't need bullying in the game. Not really. Mysteries allow the kids to encounter strange machines and creatures that exist as a result of the nearby loop, a huge underground particle accelerator built in the late 1960s. The kids get to escape their everyday lives and problems and be part of something meaningful and magical, yet also dangerous. They risk getting injured and also changed by the troubles they have to overcome to solve the mysteries. A complete mystery is included in this starter set called The Recycled Boy, and several more can be found in the full Tales from the Loop core book, which you will also learn how to create your own mysteries. Excellent, excellent. Excellent, excellent. Role-playing, how does it work? Well, we'll go for it, because it is such a short book. It's only 33 pages long, sorry. All players except one will take on the role of a fictional character, a kid whom they will play in the story. In-game, you'll choose what your kid does and says, and you'll tell others what she looks like and what she thinks and feels. You should pretend to be the kid, like an actor in a movie or a play, or Stranger Things. It is usually easy to play the kid if you refer to the character as me or I instead of she or her. It's interesting that I think they do this deliberately, really, and I'm sure the chat will correct me if not, that they tend to use she and her as a default pronouns when referring to stuff. I think it was the same with Dragonbane as well, that the GM was always she and her. Obviously, I know pronouns, who cares, that sort of thing, but it is nice to see not the traditional sort of like he, him constantly, and maybe they change it up as well, which would be great. Although I appreciate this came out probably, I don't know when the starter set came out, I think it was 2020, so maybe not. Okay. This box starter set includes 5 sheets of pre-generated kids for you to play. If you can't agree who will play which kid, roll a dice and settle it. The ideal number to play a mystery is 3 or 4, but anything is possible. Anything from 1 to 5 is possible. Oh, cool! So you could do like a 1-on-1 then. Probably be a bit lonely. I think this game probably works well with like lots of people together, or at least enough to have like a little team of kids, right? So I feel like 1-on-1, unless the person's really going for it and stuff. I think just the way stories make sense, it's always nice to have lots of kids together. Maybe I'm pulling on the Stranger Things a little bit too much, perhaps, but that's how I would see it. The one player who doesn't control a kid is the Game Master. You see, I would call them the Loop Master or something, or the Master of the Loop or something. Because, if we're setting around these ideas of like particle thing, I'm always a big fan of having that same terminology throughout. Like the kids, fine. The Tail Master, how about that? Hire me, Free League. She plays all people except for the kids and controls all creatures and machines. They are called non-player characters or NPCs. They also describe what everything looks like in the game, how things smell and how they sound. She's responsible for making the story move forward and cuts from scene to scene like a director in a movie. The loop-de-loop, yes! Perfect, that's what I'll call it from now on. Thanks, individual. The Game Master shouldn't decide what will happen in the story. She presents situations and puts kids in trouble. Ooh. The players decide how the kids try to overcome that trouble, and that creates the story. To support the story, the Game Master has a mystery, a script that describes locations and NPCs that the kids can encounter and what trouble that they may need to overcome. The mystery is only a guide, as the Game Master can choose to improvise. roll credits, and make up her own events. But she can always fall back on the mystery when she's unsure of what to say or do. That's exactly what I do with the published adventures when I run D&D. Is I'll read them all and I'll go, this was a good start. Well done, team. I'll just take that and I'll just... there we go. I've made it better. I've done a copy edit on Curse of Strahd. There we go. Better. So yeah, I like that as a way that it's just a guideline, not a set rule or set story you have to hit all the beats for. The Game Master task is a bit more difficult than the others, but can be even more rewarding. The Game Master can invent intriguing mysteries, play robots and mad scientists, and she may, with the help of the players, describe the fantastical world of the loop. The Game Master should cheer on the kids, just like you do with the heroes of a movie, but at the same time put them in trouble, so that she can enjoy how they overcome it and solve the mystery. Yeah, 100%. The players and the Game Master take turns telling what the characters do, what the scenery looks like, and what happens. It is most important that everyone gets space and time to participate. The group should listen to and take in each other's ideas. The story should be created together, and it's important to help one another, not compete for attention. Tell that to some D&D groups, huh? Sometimes situations arise when the kids try to do something difficult. In those situations, you'd roll dice and let chance determine if you succeed or fail. I think that's interesting because normally that sort of thing would run on to the next page perhaps, but I think they've done it, they've copy edited it in such a way that it's all on one page, which is brilliant. So, 2 loops, Swedish and US. One thing I will say, because I've already butchered these names so far, if people know the actual pronunciations, do put them in the chat, just so that I can actually have a proper go at actually pronouncing these things and not chicken out at the last minute. Because otherwise you're going to hear me butcher them anyway, but I just thought I'd put that here now, because I'm not a native Swede. I don't know if you noticed that, or a Swede at all. So there are 2 settings in this game. The primary setting is an alternative version of the Swedish Mälaren Islands, west of the capital of Stockholm. You can get Stockholm, right? The second alternative setting is based on the US town of Boulder City, Nevada, which has a loop of its own and is a sister facility to the Swedish loop. The mysteries written for the game are primarily based on the Swedish setting, but they provide an alternative names of characters and locations for the US setting. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All comments in orange brackets like this in the scenario refer to the US setting. You can decide together in the group which setting you prefer to play in. Oh, I like that. That makes it such a very quick way to, rather than just rehashing the same stuff, just be like, here it is, like a visual clue. The only thing I'd say is that I think orange, if you were printing it out as like grayscale, or if you maybe struggle to see orange, it maybe not be bright enough. So what I would do actually, maybe put it so that the text is actually highlighted as the back colour of it, so it stands out regardless of the light. That's the only thing I'd say on that. But we can see it as it comes. Play in your hometown? Question mark. It's entirely possible to set your game in your own hometown where you live or where you grew up. In your game universe, maybe that's where the loop was built. Creating your own game setting requires some more work, but it can be a lot of fun. You know what? I was thinking about this myself, right? Where would I put it? Like, obviously, we've got the Norfolk Broads in the They Grow Up So Fast source book, right? If I was gonna, and I know there are some people out there who've written stuff for where I'm originally from, so in Lancashire, so in the north west of London. I'm losing all my words today. In the northwest of the UK, there's some free scenarios that you can go grab on RPG, drive-through RPG. I think the loop, if I was going to put it somewhere where I grew up, I would put it near Blackpool. I don't know, again, it might be a very UK thing, but those people who grew up in the UK watching this or in the chat, do you remember when they had that big idea to put like a massive, like mega casino near Blackpool? And it was like that's all anyone could talk about, because it was like, this is going to be good for jobs, this is going to be good for this, etc. And then it never happened, it got pulled at last minute. I just remember that being such a striking moment, because you're like, that's not a good thing, a mega casino. But people are like, yeah, it's going to revitalize the area of Blackpool, and you're like, what? That sounds wild now. So yeah, that's what I think of. I think, yeah, maybe the loop is going to be near Blackpool if I was going to create a setting a bit in. I feel Manchester's too obvious, because that was it. It was either going to be Manchester was where they're going to put the casino, but then they decided to put it near Blackpool, and then it never happened. So, but that's there you go, bit of history, probably wrong history as well. So this box set is designed as an introduction to the Tales from the Loop. After playing the Recycled Boy, we recommend you check out the full book. In the core book contains comprehensive rules for creating your own kids to play, guidelines for creating new mysteries, and no less than four complete mysteries to play. Beyond the core rulebook, there's several modules for this game with even more mysteries and tools. Yeah, it does feel a little bit like this starter set was a bit more of a glorified sort of like, hey, why don't you come play this game? Which I know is the whole point of quick starts and stuff, but that's quite funny that they've got like a whole advert for their core game on page 6. So, rolling dice. So kids have numerical ratings for what they're good at. So, understanding machines, fast talking, climbing trees, and running fast. You know, those classics. The rating indicates how many 6-sided dice you get to roll when trying to overcome trouble. A 6 means a success. You rarely need more than one success. If you fail, you may try again, but you get at risk of getting hurt, upset, and scared, as it explained further in chapter 4. So they even had pushed the rolls then as well. I did like the idea that I would just get upset if I didn't get it a second time. It would be an interesting ride at the Pleasure Beach. So true, Crafty Gobbo. Yes, of course. It's been years since I've been to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, but I remember riding the big one for the first time, and the Grand National. Those are the two cool memories I have of that one. But then they had another one, which was like some sort of dreamscape type one, which looked way too scary for me. I'm not a fan of heights, so doing the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach was awful. I'm glad I did it. Gonna have to do it again. I think because it was very rickety, I seem to remember as well. That could also have been the Grand National, because that's a wooden one. And I just never saw the point of it. I was like, this is scary. No thanks. But good ice cream. I had good ice cream there. So the principles of the loop. So Tales from the Loop role-playing game has 6 core principles that players and game master will use to create short stories with the right kind of feeling and plot. There are also tools for finding a way to get along if players have different opinions about what should happen in a story and how it should be described. The principles are first presented as a numbered list and then explained in more detail later. So interesting, already we've got the list, and then it's already told you, we're going to explain in these in more detail. Sometimes you don't need that. Maybe it should be obvious, but I like the idea that maybe this is the first RPG that someone is ever playing. So it's just describing things in as much simple language as possible and explaining what to expect coming up, which is always good. I find that really, as someone who teaches learning design to academics, I think be as explicit, open as possible. Don't hide things behind big scary words. Structure it in such a way, like it may seem like a bit of a boring read perhaps, but actually then you get the information across, which is the whole point of these sort of games. So 6 things. Those are 6 things. We've got: your hometown is full of fantastic things. Everyday life is dull and unforgiving. That was something I don't know. Adults are out of touch and out of reach and out of touch. Always. The mysteries are dangerous, but the kids will not die. That's very important. I think that's very, very key. Because that could be a barrier for someone to play this. I don't want kids to get harmed in my games. That's a big line for me. So being able to play kids that won't die, but also will be put in perilous situations, that instantly sort of gives that access to stories like that. This game is played scene by scene, and then the world is described collaboratively. So, let me zoom in a little bit. Your hometown is full of strange and fantastic things. When fusion particle accelerators and the magnetrine effect were discovered in the 1950s, it broke the boundaries between the possible and the impossible. Huge transport vessels fly, cyborgs and robots can think, scientists create time portals and objects that replace people's identities. Oh no, that's quite scary. Strange beasts roam the landscape, and humanity can contact people and creatures from other times and places. Not infrequently, things are created because experiments go wrong, or random events that spawn something new and unexpected. Only the imagination limits what can happen in the land of the loop in the 1980s. The kids should discover all these strange things. See the world through the eyes of the kids. Use your experiences from being a kid, whether you are one now or from as many years ago, to create magic and wonder. Think of how it feels to sneak out in the middle of the night to secretly meet your friends. I never did that. I liked my sleep. To dive deep underwater to gather stones or ride your bike as fast as you can on hilly trails through the woods. Think of how it feels to sit sweating in a secret tree hut with friends and how those first days of summer break feel. Think of what it was like to spy on the creepy guy with the dogs. Again, no. Or listen to the older kids' stories about burglars or the strange old lady. Let yourself be swept away. And again, all that information is just on one page. So, I mean, obviously we're going to go on to the other principles on the other page, but it's just like, and done. Simple. Oh, what a great image. You're going to hear me say that a lot, by the way. What a great image. 2. Everyday life is dull and unforgiving. The alarm clock rings every morning, and homework must be done every night. It doesn't matter that the magnetrine ships sail by outside the window, that mom and dad still quarrel, and your brother seems to hate you. Your house smells fishy, and you don't get enough pocket money to buy that tape you want. The garbage has to be thrown out every day. Bullies give you nicknames, and your bike is broken. It's raining, and you have no raincoat. Life is full of setbacks and obstacles. The adults decide and do as they please, and kids are forced to do as they say. Sure, sometimes a problem is solved and you enjoy a nice moment, but it only lasts a short while, and then it's the same as before. Everyday life. I mean, that just feels like my life just now. It's like, homework must be done every night. Yep, doesn't matter, all the fun things are happening. The garbage must be thrown out every day. I literally threw out so much garbage earlier today. Okay. The adults are out of reach and out of touch. It doesn't matter what you say, the adults neither listen nor understand. Tell me about it. They live in their own world. There's no point asking them to help with problems, mysteries to be solved, or troubles that must be overcome. The kids are on their own. The adults won't even believe in all the strange things that the kids can encounter. So good. The adults nag and whine and argue with each other. They're busy with themselves and their work. Moreover, they are ignorant. It's usually their mistakes that the kids need to fix. Always. The machines that run amok. Experiments gone bad even. Aircraft that crash or explode. The worst are the adults who actually see the kids and want to exploit or harm them. Sometimes adults help, like when your dad comforts you, or you call the police and they catch the burglars, but it never lasts and it often comes with a price. The police take all the glory. Your stepmom wants you to mow the lawn all summer as payment for her help, or your teacher sees you as an ally and expects you to help her keep an eye on the bad guys in class. 4. The land of a loop is dangerous, but the kids will not die. The kids can be hurt, locked up, mocked, displaced, robbed, or broken-hearted, but they cannot die in this game. And that's it. Boom. Simple. One line there. This game is played scene by scene. Just like in the movies, the mystery is played in scenes. First, the characters talk to each other in the house, then we skip to when they meet their teacher at school. Don't play out every little step that they take along the way between home and school. Skip out the boring, less important parts. In Tales from the Loop, the Game Master is the one who sets the scenes, often with the help of the players. Setting a scene means initiating the scene and end it when it seems done. The Game Master should consult with the players when unsure. And then we've got an example here. Is it finished? Okay, it's a quick one. We'll do it. So the Game Master can set scenes on her own initiative like this. So when you come home at night, you hear someone crying in the kitchen. Your father is sitting at the table. When he sees you, he puts on a fake smile. What do you do? Oh, brutal. The Game Master should also ask players to suggest which scenes should be set. A good rule of thumb is to allow players to set at least every other scene. Oh, that's quite a nice one. Like, you set a scene, I set a scene. You set a scene, I set a scene. You set a scene, I set a scene. That's quite good, isn't it? So, for example, the Game Master goes, does anyone have a scene? And Ollie says, I would like to try to break into the school to see what they are hiding. Do you go there alone? Yes. Ollie. The sun goes down above the oaks when you lean your bike against the fence behind the gymnasium. It is quiet and empty and all the windows are dark. And then finally we have the world is described collaborator. Together. You describe it together. We collab on it. The game master is responsible for setting scenes and describing things in the story, but that doesn't mean she should do all the work herself. The game master should ask the players for help all the time. Ask them what the school is like, what the weather is like, why the neighbours are arguing, and so on. The game master should ask the kids questions. What does your mother look like? What's fishy about the lady of the house next door? What is the mood like in the house when you get home? How do you feel? What are you thinking? Feels very much like that. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like Things of the Unexplained, with the guy who plays Riker. And he goes, did a plant pot kill that person? What have you done to makes her hate you? What are you wearing? How come you love her? The game master should use the players' imaginations to be asking questions all the time and making sure that the group creates the world together. If the players are making up flying schools and parents who work as alien hunters, the game master should remind them of the principle everyday life is dull and unforgiving. The strange and mysterious should be in the mysteries, and the game master has the final say. Oh, Beyond Belief with Jonathan Frakes. Yes, thank you, Individual. Yes, this is why I'll say these things and then the chat's like, it's this, Fiona. Yeah, that's what I feel like when you have questions like this. Like, how many questions we got there? Got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, I would skim those down to like 3 examples and then put them as bullet points so everyone can see it. But I just like it. It's like, what are you thinking? What's the mood of the house when you get home? Running in from another room yelling, Jonathan Frakes! Yes, okay, guys. Yes, sorry. But this is why you guys have got the pop quick. We're on the same level. I go cultural reference ? And you go cultural reference ! So I very much appreciate it. All right, so that was chapter 1. Chapter 2, she says the 80s that never was, the Swedish loop, and then the US loop. All right, so we're gonna get a little bit of lore. Super. So the age of the loop. The loop's presence was felt everywhere on Mälaren Islands. Let's go with that. Our parents worked there. Oh, wow. Hang on. Rick's Energy's service vehicles patrolled the roads and the skies. Strange machines roamed in the woods, the glades, and the meadows. Whatever forces reigned deep below sent vibrations up through the bedrock, the flint lime bricks, and the Eternit facades, there we go, and into our living rooms. Whoop. And sending you the vid on Discord because it's one of my favourite things ever. Oh, thank you, JC Dust. Yes, every so often it comes up on my Instagram, and it's like it's always like, oh, it happened last night. That's why it's on my mind so much. It was like the DM goes, I have a simple side quest for you, and then the players are like, but what about if the plant did kill the person? And so I chuckled at that. That is very much what my D&D is. Yes, but thank you, JC Dust. I will watch it again because it does make me chuckle. Thank you. One of the core elements of the game setting is that the Tales from the Loop RPG takes place in a distinct and iconic period of time, the 1980s. It is a time you probably know well. You might have grown up during this era, and if not, you'll have probably experienced it through a score of iconic movies like E.T., The Goonies, and War Games. I don't think I've seen War Games, actually. But yes, I've seen E.T. and Goonies, and I did live through a part of the 80s. The last 3 months of it, but it still counts. This is a decade which gave us global pop stars like Michael Jackson and Madonna, where hard rock and synth pop dominated the radio, and the Commodore 64 was the world's best-selling computer. In a way, it was the first really modern decade. The VCR made its way into homes, and a generation of kids watched movies that previously were out of sight and reach for them. After the pessimistic 70s, the 80s looked ahead and upwards. Everything seemed possible. Yet it was almost a decade of fear. It was also a decade of fear and conflict. Looming over everything was the spectre of Cold War and the global threat of nuclear war. To be scared of the bomb was as natural as being afraid of climate change today. This and everything else that happened during this era is part of this game, but there is more to it as well. This is a game about an 80s that never was. I do like that line. This is a game about an 80s that never was. I think that's really good. What about the mysterious behaviour of the barbecue lid? Comedy gold. Good one. Yeah, love that, Daisy Darcy. So the 80s that never was. Things are not quite as you remember them. The 80s of this game are filled with strange technology and top secret government-run projects. Top secret. The twin particle accelerators in Sweden and in the US are still active. Oh, my TV is about to turn itself off. There we go. Balanced autonomous systems, also commonly known as robots, are commonplace, and 10,000-ton Gorse freighter traffics the tundra route to Siberia. This is the era of Tales from the Loop. Oh, 10 movies. Oh, okay, so this is like I did quite like this, like the way they've sort of done a bit of graphic design about like 10 touchstones or something like that. So we've got, let's see which ones have I think I've seen most of them. I've not seen Karate Kid, actually. I've seen clips of Karate Kid. And I haven't seen Gremlins, you know. That's pretty bad, isn't it? I think I've seen a lot of, I think it's the second Gremlins I've seen a lot of. I've not seen the first one. Ghostbusters, obviously. Top Gun, regrettably. Return of the Jedi, yeah. Goonies, yes. E.T., yes. Breakfast Club, I haven't seen Breakfast Club, but it is good. The bits I've seen of it are good. Back to the Future, great classic. Stand By Me, I think Stand By Me I find too sad, I'll be honest. I know it's supposed to be sad, but I find it really sad. Is there anything else I put in there? Maybe I'd put 16 Candles in there, but obviously that's not a film necessarily you'd put in this. Like it's in the same bracket as Breakfast Club, I think, maybe. Or oh god, what's it called? The Heathers as well, actually. But again, it's a little bit darker. Maybe we put that one in the Things from the Flood list as well. Anything with Christian Slater in. In the years after the Second World War, the major powers invested huge amounts of time and money in experimental research programs. Most of these yield almost no results, but a few of them paid off handsomely. The so-called magnetrine effect was discovered by scientists in the Soviet Union and gave birth to the majestic Gorse freighters that, in the decades that follows, became a common sight, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. The magnetrine effect is distinctly weaker in the Southern Hemisphere, limiting its use to smaller Gorse ships. In the US, the world's first particle accelerator was constructed in Boulder City, Nevada in the 1950s. Part of the military program, its scientific findings were unclear, and rumors called it a failure spread. Ooh. That did not stop scientists in Sweden following suit. In the 1960s, the Swedish government formed Riksenergi, an agency tasked with building the world's largest particle accelerator on Mälaren Island, outside Stockholm. The facility for research in high-energy physics was inaugurated in 1969, and top scientists from all over Sweden relocated to the area so to partake in one of the most ambitious scientific endeavors of its time. So that's interesting. I guess, again, your parents don't matter too much in this, right? But maybe it's like, if all the parents are scientists in some way, or having someone who is parents who are scientists, I think that's very interesting, because that's the thing with. Sorry, I keep going back to that touchstone of Stranger Things, and I appreciate not everyone's seen it and not everyone likes it, and that's fine. But that's the one I can see for myself. And I think with this, all their parents aren't necessarily connected with the big bad evil stuff going on. Like, they're not the scientists per se. I think the closest one you have is Hopper, who's like a part of the police force. And then obviously, then they all move and all that sort of thing. So I think it would be interesting to have you were playing a kid in this. I think if I was playing a kid in this, I would like to have parents, my connections, to do with the loop in some way, that they're scientists or they work at the base. I think that would be quite interesting and fun to do. What else have we got? So, the Facility of Research in High Energy Physics. Yeah, said that. It did not take long for the inhabitants of the islands to come up with their own new name for the facility, the Loop. Meanwhile, the Japanese company Iwasakai. Oh, I was Akai. Perfected the self-balancing machine in laboratories in Osaka. In the 70s and 80s, these machines, often simply called robots, became more common sight in the industries and defense forces, making the fantastic mundane. In the world of Tales from the Loop is our world, but it's also quite different. The discovery of the magnetrine effect and perfecting the robot technology in the late 60s have become things we consider fantastic commonplace. Keep in mind that while seeing a huge gorge ship cruise above the ground is an awe-inspiring sight for the kids in the game, it's not something magical or fantastical. They grew up in this reality. For them, hovering magnetrine ships and robots are as normal as jets and computers are to us. Yeah, I was going to say, computers is the main thing. If you've grown up with like an iPad or using this sort of technology, it's less fantastical to you than maybe if you grew up like a decade before. Tales from the Loop is science fiction, but it's not about the technology. At its heart, this game is about growing up in the shadows of strange things and solving mysteries. It's about the kids. That's interesting, isn't it? Like, who was it? I was talking to someone else the other day about. I was talking to Chris for Chris Bassetti, and they were talking about having stuff like horror or sci-fi, like those big genres that ultimately, they're not like they're not like big blocks, right? There's, and you can carve stuff. They're more like a sheet or a veil, and you could drape it over your stories, and that's what's happened here, right? It is sci-fi, but it's not about the technology. It's about the kids solving mysteries and trying to understand what's going on, which is a much more interesting story. And just accepting that in this world, like, 'cause that's something like this is it's ordinary people in extraordinary settings, and it's more interesting is like what do the ordinary people do in this extraordinary setting, rather than what about this extraordinary setting? It's the extraordinary setting is supporting what the ordinary people are doing, which is just really cool. All right, here we go. So the Swedish Loop. So it's from its inception in 1969. A facility for research in high energy physics, or simply the Loop, is the largest particle accelerator of its kind in this world. Sweden in the 1980s is a very different country from what it is today. Some call it a socialist utopia, whilst others a failed experiment of finding a middle way between capitalism and communism. It is a country governed by the monolithic Social Democratic Party, who have ruled more or less single-handedly since World War II. It is a far cry from the communist countries of Eastern Europe, but the belief that the government should care for its citizens from cradle to grave is still strong. Education is free for everyone, as is healthcare. Alcohol is only sold in state-owned System Boulder stores. There are only 2 TV channels, both state-owned and showing a mix of American soap operas, Swedish socialist realist dramas, and cartoons from behind the Iron Curtain. Sweden is officially neutral and is not aligned with NATO or the Warsaw Pact. Instead, Indeed, it was one of the few countries in Europe that was not occupied and did not fight in World War II, a subject that has been much debated amongst its less lucky neighbours. But regardless, what the Finns or the Norwegians think about Sweden's way of not taking sides, it is firmly entrenched in the Swedish psyche. The Social Democratic government has good diplomatic relations with both the Soviet Union and the US. But even if the official stance is always never pick a side, it is an open secret that the Swedish military, many politicians, and a large popular population only really see one obvious enemy: the Soviet Union. There are rumours that cooperation with NATO countries is more widespread than commonly believed, and some talk about secret research and intelligence projects in cooperation with US representatives. When the Soviet submarine U-137 ran aground outside Lake King in southern Sweden in 1981, the threat suddenly becomes very real. We've got some 8 tech companies, so some examples of stuff we'd see. I think these are around the world, right? So Vectra is vehicles. Hair, Hoofter is the service machines and robots. I guess that's quite cool, right? Because we think of stuff now. Like I can see like Logitech here. You think Samsung, Smart Price, Asda, Blackwell's, that sort of thing. So you could be quite fun to make up your own sort of like tech companies or brands piece theme. That could be quite cool. Yeah, that would be quite fun as a cool exercise, huh? Oh, I've got some history here as well. So 1970 to 1979, so scientific work commences on the loop. Scientists from all over Sweden and indeed Europe are recruited to the project. The first civilian autonomous robots enter service. Robot waves tactics used by the Chinese in the Balkai Wars fail, bringing the military use to robots to an end. Oh, interesting. So they're not used in war. Very different to Alien, per se, right? Because they use androids to do some of their bidding there. In 1980 to 1989, they got Hans Albrechtsson takes over as director of the Loop. The Swedish armed forces introduced the Amat-1 crude self-balancing machines. Strange sightings are reported around the Loop, and wildlife patrols are increased. Ooh, okay. So after the incident, the Swedish Navy steps up its efforts and submarine hunting becomes a regular thing throughout the rest of the decade, although with no tangible results. Let me zoom in a little bit more. It's tiny writing. Sweden is also a changing society. Influence from the West, and especially the US and the UK, is growing stronger in both popular culture and in economic policies. So-called yuppies are celebrating the capitalistic way in Stockholm, with one hand on an absurdly large mobile phone. Weirdly, I instantly imagined it as soon as I saw the word yuppie there. And the other on a steering wheel of a Porsche. Kids are playing with Garbage Pail Kids, He-Man and Transformers. The personal computer can be found in many homes and more often in the form of the Commodore 64. Pen and paper role-playing games such as Draka de Moor and Mutant sell for 100,000 copies. Going on charter vacations became a national pastime. The shift between the idealistic and political 70s to a more individual and pleasure-seeking way of life in the 80s is gradual but clear. In February 1986, the Swedes wake to a momentous news. The iconic Prime Minister Olof Palme has been murdered in cold blood, oh my god, in downtown Stockholm. The murder will never be solved, and some claim this marks the end of the Age of Innocence in Sweden. Throughout the decade, the Swedes carry on with their lives the way they've always done. Enduring the long cold winters, spending the short but beautiful summers in the country houses, and the rest of the year longing for this next summer. There we go. Growing up in Sweden, so being a kid in the 1980s of Sweden, feels like being stuck between the past and a bright, shining future. There are still only 2 channels on the TV. The computers in schools are hopelessly outdated ABC 80s, and a vocal minority of the adults' world sees parts of popular culture such as horror films, computer games, and heavy metal as soul-corrupting garbage. Still, things are exponentially better than the drab, grey 70s when when your older siblings grew up. VHS tapes of American movies are copied and distributed amongst friends. Pirated cassettes full of Commodore 64 games are tiny slices of heaven for the enthusiasts, and the music scene is alight with decadent and deliciously dangerous metal groups, as well as stylish and glitzy synth pop duos. There's a Commodore 64. Teen magazines such as Oki, which are glam rockers, Dator Magazine, computer games, and Frida, Love and Heartache are required reading for the young, as well as comics such as the popular Phantoman, the Phantom, obviously, Spider-Man, Spindelmannen, and Meint hast a horse riding youth, for the horse riding youth. Oh, my horse. Okay. Yeah. It's because I've been learning a little bit of Dutch, and I think horse is Paard, Paard. That's why I was like, oh. Parents have a less controlling parenting style in the 80s and often let kids keep to themselves without any major interference. Sorry. Kids are allowed to roam the countryside as they please as long as they return home before dark. It is also a decade where divorce becomes commonplace. Ooh. And many kids grow up in separate homes. Turbulence at home and the existential uncertainty that comes with this casts a shadow over many kids who seek to understand what is happening to their once so-called safe families. School is mandatory and free. All the kids go to Grundskola at the age of 7, which is basic school, and continue for 9 years before they go on to 2 to 4 years to the Gymnasiet, which is college. English is taught from an early age, and because all the TV shows and movies only have subtitles in Swedish, kids learn to speak English very well, although often with Hollywood-like accents rather than the British English that is often taught at schools. That's quite funny. I like that. The school system is relatively fair and progressive, but echoes of arcane. It's not arcane. Archaic methods from the 60s still remain. I'll get that one day, I know. Teachers are often kind and well-meaning, but hopelessly out of touch with the realities of the kids. Bullying is a real and commonplace problem, and the teachers and parents alike struggle to handle it properly. For some, the school years are torture at the hands of their so-called comrades, and the only respite they find is in the like-minded friends or an escape into dreams or something else. Yes, I know it's kind of commonplace, but also don't have to have it in there. Alright, the US loop. So the loop might have reached its highest level of notoriety in Sweden, but it got its start as a top secret military project in the US. Specifically, it began in Boulder City, Nevada, a sleepy little town that's just half an hour's drive southeast of Las Vegas, looking over Lake Mead. While it started out in the early days of the Cold War in the 1950s, the US loop peaked in the heady years of the 1980s. The loop was meant to investigate the possibility of instantaneous teleportation between 2 points on the planet. It was formed under the auspices of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or the DARPA, which was known simply as ARPA at the time. President Dwight D. Eisenhower himself ordered the creation of DART, Department of Advanced Research into Teleportation, hoping to employ the fruits of its labours as a means to moving troops around the globe at a moment's notice. Oh, that's quite depressing, isn't it? But that initial promise, secret as it might have been, was never fulfilled, and the city seems to have suffered for it. In the 1980s, although Boulder City can be sometimes seen as a deserted island in the middle of an endless sea of sand, it's actually not a terrible place to grow up. America in this age of the loop isn't quite the same as the one you might remember. Strange airships scud across the skies, floating atop giant magnetrine discs. Robots perform a lot of the heavy labour, often guided by human operators, but sometimes not. This all seems perfectly normal to the kids born in this world, of course, but that doesn't mean there isn't plenty that they can still mystify and shock them. In the 80s era of Ronald Reagan, the former actor who became the nation's oldest ever president by promising a morning in America, it's a time when Americans wanted to have faith in their governments restored to them after it had been shattered by Watergate and President Nixon's resignation. The threat of an a soon-to-be nuclear holocaust may cast a shadow over everything. But by the end of the decade, the Soviet Union is knocked onto the ropes, and it seems there's nothing America can't do. At the same time, that faith turns out to be founded on a pack of lies. Reagan doesn't just release the hostages from Iran in 1981. Instead, in 1980, he negotiates them to be held until his inauguration to help him win the election. Not too much later, the CIA refuses to obey Congress's ban on helping prop up the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. Congress also cuts off funding to the CIA efforts to overthrow the Sandinistas in that war-torn nation. But CIA agents illegally procured their own funds for the cause by selling weapons to America's enemies in Iran instead. Oh no, that's all very sticky there, isn't it? Oh dear. For the most part, though, no one knows this until much later in the decade. And to the kids of America, little of this matters directly to them anyway. Yes, it's just all a bit of a setting, a little bit of sprinkling of here's something you'd be aware about. At the start of the decade, underage drinking reaches deep into the high schools because the drinking age in much of this country is 18, although it has been 21 in Nevada since the end of Prohibition. That starts to change in 1984, where Congress forces the states to raise the legal drinking age to 21. And at the same time, the Reagan administration heats up the war on drugs, sending the First Lady, Nancy Reagan, out with the slogan, "Just say no." While some widely mocked, teen use of drugs dropped during the decade from its highs in the 70s. Meanwhile, the era of free love comes to an end with the rise of HIV and AIDS. This worldwide epidemic infects millions of people who share dirty needles or have unprotected sex. Now, sexually transmitted diseases, or STDs, don't just make you sick, they could literally kill you. Military service is entirely voluntary. Whilst men have to register for draft at the age of 18, no one's been conscripted into the US military since the early 70s. Perhaps because of this, the 80s are comparatively peaceful. The US invades the Caribbean island of Grenada in 1983 and Panama in December of 1989. But both operations are swift, limited, and conclusive. There are only 4 major TV stations in most of the country: ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS. Public television. In 1986, Fox joins the fray. Cable TV is still rolling out over much of the nation, bringing new channels like HBO, MTV, and ESPN to ESPs. That's what I was thinking. I see a sign. Oh, I see the loop. It's happening. Does anyone know someone called John? To American households. Cartoons start being broadcast in the afternoons or after school rather than just on Saturday mornings. During the decade, the Federal Communications Commission ends the prohibition of toy companies making cartoons based on their products. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. They flood the airways with toy-based shows including Transformers, My Little Pony, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, and Thundercats. I had never considered that. I always assumed that the animations of cartoons came before the toys. Did not know that. You know what? That makes a lot more sense, that they want to be selling the toys so they'd have some sort of promotion for it. That's why Poppy Playtime works so well as well. It has that sort of feeling about it, although that's sort of set in the 90s, isn't it? So growing up in America, so being a kid in the 1980s America, feels like being stuck between a wild, dangerous past and an even stranger, more complicated future. Your grandparents fought in World War II. Your parents either fought in or protested the Vietnam War. The Cold War seems to be heating up to the ignition point, and if you manage to survive that, you can see a corporate-owned cyberpunk future heaving towards the digital's horizon. You ride the wave of nostalgia that seems to be like it's sure to crash out on the... Oh, there's some good songs there as well. Oh, God, I love Cyndi Lauper. On the shoals of nuclear Armageddon. And the only thing you can hope for is that you can keep surfing long enough to grab a fresh wave laced with future shock. The only cell phones anyone has at this point are the size and weight of a brick. And they usually come attached to a car. If you want to get a hold of someone when you're out of the house, you have to hunt for a payphone and hope you have a quarter to plug into it. You don't have GPS. You have paper maps that no one seems to fold back together. Oh, that's so true. And you have your memories. The upside is that no one can reach you unless you want to be found, and the idea of someone tracking you using an array of satellites ringing the planet seems like something out of Star Trek. The only apps anyone has come for. The only apps anyone has come before dinner. The only apps anyone has come before dinner at your same. What is that? Wait, hang on. The only apps anyone has come for before dinner at your favorite restaurant. I don't understand what that sentence is at all. Oh, appetizers. The only apps anyone has come before dinner at your favorite restaurant. Appetizers. Right, I understand. In America, you start school with kindergarten at the age of 5. Grade school ranges from 1 till 5 or 6th grade, after which you go to middle school or junior high. High school usually starts with 9th grade and ends at 12th. Most kids go to public schools. Appetizers. Yes, I know, JC does. I was just there going like, what on earth? I don't understand. Come on, Fiona, get with the US lingo. My bad. I am moving there, you know, so I'm gonna be right up there. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I want some apps, please, before I can't I just say starters? Most kids go to public schools, which are free, although some parents pay tuitions to send their kids to private schools instead. After high school, you head off to college or technical school, both of which you must pay for, or enter the job market straight away. Divorce rates reach a peak at the 1980s, leaving lots of kids living in single-parent homes. Most kids in such situations wind up living with their mothers. Sometimes they spend every other weekend with their fathers, who end up playing a smaller part in their lives. Almost all kids spend a good chunk of their waking hours in school. In home, where both parents work, or there's only one parent around, the kids will often come home to an empty house, giving rise to a generation of latchkey kids. They tend to themselves and sometimes younger siblings until their parents get home from their jobs. If they don't come straight home from school, there's no one around to notice. In their spare time, many kids listen to tunes, including this new thing they call rap music, on the radio or on cassettes. Some play the cassettes on portable players like a Sony Walkman, or tote them around on their shoulders inside massive boom boxes that use 6 to 8 D-cell batteries. God, D-cell. Massive. They also watch movies and TV shows on VCRs, both on VHSs and Betamax. Or Betamax, sorry, not Beta. Betamax is the thing from Disney, isn't it? Big Hero 6. Betamax formats. And swap copies of tapes recorded off broadcast TV with each other. Some kids play a lot of tabletop role-playing games, including Dungeons and Dragons, hooray! Traveller, a Middle-earth role-playing game, or MERP. In certain areas, these games are banned, along with heavy metal music recordings, for fear they might have a demonic influence on the kids who play them. The Satanic Panic caused a lot of hand-wringing, but the added notoriety seemed to sell even more games and records than before. Most homes don't have a computer in them, but in those that do, the Apple II and the Commodore 64 top the list, mostly because they offer video games more intricate than the ones you find on the Atari, ColecoVision, or the Intellivision systems of the day. Things like Zork and Castle Wolfenstein. This changes in 1985, where the relatively inexpensive Nintendo Entertainment System reaches America and Super Mario Bros. Storms the nation. Yes. Alrighty. Okay, so that's the background. We've got the setting, we've got the background. How are we doing for time? We've got about 40 minutes before I have to shoot off. So let's get straight into it. So this is chapter 3. It's probably going to cover quite a lot of the stuff now. So we've got age, attribute, luck points, all that. All the good stuff. Alrighty. So the ecosphere lays there in the gravel pit. A faint tune hummed within the sphere when the wind resonated between the steel walls. Callie and Olaf immediately ran inside and started shouting to test the echo. A pair of nervous ospreys wheeled above the sphere. I remained outside, reminded of that first day with my grandfather. Thinking back on it now, I realised that this was probably my first memory of experiencing nostalgia. Odd. A summer's day and 3 9-year-olds, one of whom was stopped in the middle of playing by a childhood memory. Each player in this game, except the Game Master, controls a kid, whom they will play in the story. This starter set includes 5 sheets with pre-generated kids for you to play. If you can't agree who will play which kid, roll a die to assassinate. Yay. This chapter will explain how kids function in game terms, introduce a number of important rules and concepts. The full Tales from the Loop core book includes full rules for creating your own kids to play in the game. Right, so obviously no character creation, but the rules then aren't being watered down for this starter set, so that's pretty good. So, age. So in this game, your kid is between 10 to 15 years old. Your age affects your attribute scores and the amount of luck points you have, but also how you picture the kid in your mind and how you would play this character. That's interesting. Yes, I went through some Vason character creation later, and earlier this week, and your age and that also depends on what you get, what you have to spend. So if you're younger, you might have more like base stats. So your attributes you got slightly more points for that. But as you're older, you'll have maybe more skill points, so you've become more specialized and you have that experience, which is pretty good. So, attributes. So your kid is defined by 4 attributes that tell you what you are good at and how you can cope with trouble. These are body, tech, heart, and mind. They range between 1 to 5 and determine a number of dice you roll when trying to overcome trouble. Body is the ability to jump high, run fast, fight, sneak, and climb. Tech is the ability to understand machines and robots, program technological things, open locked doors, and build things. Heart is the ability to make friends, lie, know the right people, create a good atmosphere, and persuade others. And mind is the ability to find weak points, understand people, situations, and creatures, solve riddles, was a bit gap there, and understand clues. Luck points. So luck points are something that you can use to overcome trouble more easily. They give you a chance to re-roll dice, as explained further in Chapter 4. In this game, younger kids are luckier than older kids. Okay. When you start the game with a number of luck points equal to 15 minus your age. Oh, okay. Your luck points are replenished at the beginning of every session. You cannot save luck points from one session to another, and you cannot go above your starting number. When you turn a year older, your maximum luck points is permanently reduced by 1. That's pretty brutal. So, like, if you're 10, you'll have 5. But if you're 15, you have none. I think you should have a base of 1 luck point, at least. Just to give you something. Because otherwise, you never play someone that's 15. You'd always play them as 14 at least, right? Skills. So each attribute has 3 connected skills. Yes, we've seen this in the user engine. These are areas where the kid can be well trained. The level of skills varies between 0 and 5 and corresponds to how many dice you can add to the dice roll when you try to overcome a trouble, in addition to the dice from your attribute. So, for body, we have sneak, force, and move. Excuse me. Sneak is the ability to hide and sneak. Force is the ability to lift heavy things, fight, and endure physical and stressful situations. Move is used to climb high, balance, and run fast. Tech, we have Tinker, Program, and Calculate. Tinker, is the ability to build and manipulate machines and other mechanical items. Program is the ability to create and manipulate computer programs and electronic devices. And Calculate is the ability to understand machines and other technical systems. Heart, we have Contact, Charm, and Lead. Contact is the ability to know the right person. Oh, I like that as a skill. Like network, yeah. Charm is to use charm, befriend, or manipulate. And then lead is the ability to make others work well together and to help them when they are scared, sad, or confused. Aww. Then we've got mind, we have investigate, comprehend, and empathize. So investigate is the skill to find hidden objects and understand clues. Comprehend is the ability to have the right piece of information or be able to find it at the library. Okay. So that's a library use role then. And then empathize is the ability to understand what makes a person, an animal, or a conscious thing tick and how to find out its weak point. That's interesting. So that's more of an insight role. I would assume that because lead is like sort of like you empathizing a little bit with them. That's the only thing I'd say. So I might say, oh, empathize. Oh, okay, do empathize. But actually, that's more insight than anything else. And then lead is like you want them to be able to work together or overcome something. Okay, items. So some items can be useful to overcome trouble. Items can give a bonus to a roll between 1 to 3 extra dice to roll. To get a bonus from an item, it must be obvious how it is of use to you. So for example, a skateboard can give a bonus to move when you're fleeing from a bully in the streets, but not when you're climbing a tree. The Game Master should disallow unreasonable attempts to use items. Aww. Most objects you'll encounter during the mystery are props, everyday things that are described to give atmosphere that don't affect dice rolls. This can be a stick in the woods, a Coke bottle, or a notepad. The Game Master decides which objects are items that give a bonus and which are just props. Yes, fair enough. Iconic item. Oh, so this must be your signature item. Okay. You start the game with one iconic item. It works just like all the other items, except it says something about who you are. This item gives two bonus dice in a situation when it can be used to help you to overcome trouble. The iconic item will not disappear or break whenever it happens unless you want it to. If it gets stolen or lost, you will find it before the end of the mystery, and it cannot be used by any of the other kids. But is it like a one use per session thing or one use per mystery thing? You may find or build things or train creatures to get new items during a mystery. The Game Master gives the item a bonus of +1 to +3, depending on how powerful it is deemed to be. Often, items can be encountered as described in the mystery. Okay, items that can be encountered are described in the mystery. Right, yes. Drive. So your drive is the reason why you expose yourself to dangerous and difficult situations to solve mysteries with your friends. It helps you to understand your kid and makes it easier to get involved in a mystery. Whatever is going on, the kids will want to figure it out. Problem. So all the kids have a problem. You may have kept yours to yourself or told the other kids. The problem is part of the everyday life, something that worries you. During the Game Master will use the problem to put you into trouble. Pride. Every kid has a pride. Something that makes you feel strong, important, and valuable. The Game Master should use the pride to put you into trouble by setting up scenes that highlight or threaten the pride. For example, a classmate could turn out to be good or better than you at school. Oh, no. Dad is losing his job at the fire station. An animal is tormented. Pride is also a tool for you to understand and play your kid. A problem and pride may interact, and the pride can even become a problem, but it may also be two separate things. Once per mystery, you may check your pride to get one automatic success in a dice roll. Oh, okay. You can check your pride after a failed roll or even after a successful one in order to get an extra success. You must explain how your pride helps you. Interesting. I like that. So that's almost like a cool one-off thing as well. Once per mystery, right? But it said once per mystery? Yeah. All right. Relationships. So each pre-generated kid in there has their relationships to the other kids in the group and to an NPC listed on the character sheet. The NPC relationships are meant to be a connection between the kids and the strange things that will start happening as the game is played. Conditions. The kids can't die, but they can suffer from conditions. When you try to overcome trouble but fail, or if you push the dice roll, you may be forced to take a condition. There are 5 conditions, and the first 4 are mild, so upset, scared, exhausted, and injured. The exact interpretation of condition can vary and may need to be adapted to the situation at hand. When you decide what condition to take in a given situation, you get a -1 on all dice rolls until it is healed. Additional conditions are cumulative, so 2 give -2. All 4 minor conditions are marked. You take another one, then you are broken. Ooh. If you're broken, then something really bad has happened. You are mentally or physically hurt, and you will automatically fail all dice rolls until healed. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so rather than that, you just can't do anything. Conditions are also an indicator for how to play the kid. You decide how much you want to play out your conditions in a scene. The Game Master might help you by asking questions. How do you feel? In what ways are you upset? You should never be forced to play a condition, though, if you do not wish to do so. Alright, chapter 4, which, yes, then goes on to sort of the final few bits. Alright, we'll be able to get this done. So we've got trouble. Foxhound requesting permission to return to the... But I was interrupted by a sudden snap amongst the twigs on the slope behind the robot. In terror, we watched as the robot twirled around with the shocking speed, and we saw how it moved across the glade. in a second like a lightning-fast spider. A frightened pheasant flew out of the shrubbery, cackling in terror, and narrowly avoided the robot's pincers, which snapped through the air behind the bird's tail. Lowe stared at me, terrified, and hissed, "Request granted. Return to base. Over and out." And then we ran. Ooh, terrifying. So trouble is something that prevents the kids from doing something. It can be a bad thing about to happen, or a possibility fraught with danger. It is the game master's job to create trouble, but the kids can also get themselves into trouble. Trouble is woven into conversation and described by the game master as people and creatures doing things, or as something happening. The game master asks how you react, and you may try to overcome it somehow, or ignore it and let it happen. There's an example. Oh, some typical troubles there. So someone is standing outside the entrance and will see you if you are trying to enter. Mom refuses to let you go out at night. The robot attacks you with its claws. Your classmates don't believe you. Oh no. Sometimes the game master will tell you that you will suffer a condition if you don't overcome the trouble. This should only happen when it is obvious that you will take a beating. If you get a condition that is already checked, you must choose another one to check. The dice roll. So, you decide how to overcome the trouble and what you're trying to accomplish. The game master may ask for some more details if she thinks the situation is unclear, or may ask you to change your mind if you're trying to do something that's impossible. Grab a number of dice equal to your score in your attribute you use, then add some more dice equal to the skill in the corresponding skill. If there isn't any suitable skill, just only roll for the attribute. Every six rolled is a success. In most cases, only one success is needed to overcome trouble. Typical trouble with a threat of condition. So your big brother tries to wrestle you down in front of your classmates. You risk being upset. If the car starts to weave back and forth across the road, if it crashes, you are all injured. Okay, so some examples there. So you may use your iconic item for a dice roll when appropriate, and it gives you +2 dice to a roll. You may also use your pride once per mystery to give you an automatic success. I see. Oh, I guess that's the difference, right? So it's rather than like the iconic thing, the signature item in Alien, which reduces stress. There's no stress here. You can use your pride once per mystery to give yourself like, I want to succeed on that. Okay, yes, I understand the difference now. Luck. You spend the luck point after a failed roll. A luck point lets you re-roll all failed dice without needing to push. Okay. You cannot go back to the earlier result. You cannot spend more than one luck point on a single dice roll. And we've said about the maximum luck number. It has to be equal to 15 minus your age. Your luck points are replenished after each play session, and you cannot save them between sessions. Actually, I think I would go for like 12 would be the age of my thing. So then you have 3, because 3 is a good number for luck, I think. Doing the almost impossible. In rare cases, more than one success is needed to overcome trouble. You might be trying to do something almost impossible, such as persuading your mother to let you go outside even though the garden is full of crazy robots, or jumping from a bridge down onto a car, passing at full speed. Holy shit, that one sounds really dangerous. This may require 2 or even 3 successes. The Game Master should only demand more than one success in the most extreme cases. No turns or initiative. So in many role-playing games, conflict and combat are divided into segments of actions that are resolved one at a time. This is not the case in Tales from the Loop. Instead, each action or intention is resolved with a single dice roll. This doesn't mean there can't be more than one role in the conflict. Let the dialogue decide what happens and what seems reasonable. Don't forget to describe the actions before rolling the dice. In the end, the Game Master has final say on what seems plausible. See, I think that's so true about the excuse me. Don't forget to describe the actions before rolling the dice. So many people want to roll the dice and then like work out, oh, I meant this, etc. I think, yeah, so state what you intend and then see the result of it, rather than see the result of it and go, okay, so this is what happens. So they've got a trouble table there, like difficult, extremely difficult, almost impossible is getting the successes. Answering questions. So some skills let you ask questions of the Game Master, and the Game Master must answer truthfully and with as much detail as seems possible in this situation. You have overcome trouble and should not be given vague or half-truth answers. Oh yeah, so this will be the question skills later. So buying effects. If you roll more successes than you need, the leftover successes can be used to buy beneficial bonus things. Oh, so stunts then, okay. Such effects are described for each skill. The same effect can be bought several times. The game master decides which effects, if any, are suitable for any given situation. The GM never rolls dice for NPCs, thank goodness. When they try to overcome trouble, the game master decides whether they succeed or fail. If their actions cause trouble, the kids may try to prevent it or overcome them. When an NPC helps you, the game master may decide to give you 1, 2, or 3 bonus dice, but this only happens in rare cases. The kids need to rely on each other. And some NPCs are significantly harder to beat. They will have 1 or more special attributes with a score of 2 or 3. Trouble that is directly tied to a special attribute is particularly hard to cope with. To overcome the NPC, you will need to roll a number of successes equal to the attribute score. Oh, interesting. Okay. The Game Master has final say as to whether a special attribute is applicable for the roll. Interesting, okay. So if you roll too few successes, your action fails. An unsuccessful attempt to overcome trouble must never mean nothing happens. Somehow the situation changes, probably for the worst. What happens is up to the Game Master to decide. You might need to check a condition, or you might end up in a new trouble, or you might suffer a complication. See the box text. Presumably here? Yeah. Pushing the roll though. So when you push a roll, you may choose to immediately retry the task by mentally or physically pushing yourself to the limits of your ability. This is called pushing the roll, and it can only be done once, immediately after the failed roll. You must describe what you do to push yourself. You may push a successful roll to be able to get by even more effects. When you push a roll, you must first check a condition. Choose any condition that you feel fits the story. Then, when you re-roll all the dice except the ones showing 6s. If the re-roll is successful, the Game Master describes what happens. If the roll also fails, you may not push again, but you can still use your luck point. Or your pride. That's interesting. So you do have a couple of options. It's just, I guess, the pushing the roll one is like the final solution in the sense of it's the last resort. The last resort. If the trouble came with the threat of a condition, you may check 2 conditions if you push the roll but still failed after the re-roll. Ooh, interesting. You can push a dice roll before or after using a luck point. So complications. So a failed test should not be a roadblock. To progress the mystery, even if a dice roll fails, the Game Master can use complications. Suffering a complication after a failed result, you can still succeed with the most crucial part, but something goes wrong along the way. The Game Master decides what happens. The word "but" is also often helpful. Complications may lead to new trouble, present a risk for new trouble, provide a partial clue, so forcing the kids to investigate further, or force the kids to change their plans. And here's some examples. So as you row out into the lake, the boat's owner comes running from the parking lot. Oh no! You grab the scientist's notebook and run, but it gets torn in half. Oh no! Helping each other. So one kid may help another overcome trouble if it seems plausible in the situation. To help, you describe what you do and then your friend gets an extra 1 die to roll. A kid may never get help from more than one of their friends for a single dice roll. Okay, so it is limited to one person. The Game Master will have final say on when helping is possible. When you help someone, you are bound to the outcome of the roll, so if it fails, you suffer the same effects as the kid who rolled. Right, yes, absolutely. Sometimes, at a crucial moment of the mystery, trouble can be so climactic that the kids have to come up with a plan and work together. A single dice roll is not enough to portray the trouble they are in. Each kid will have their part to play in the plan's final success or failure, and this is called extended trouble. So we've got, 5 steps? So, step 1, set the stakes. So the Game Master will declare what is at stake, what will happen if the kids fail. Step 2 is threat level. The Game Master declares the total number of successes that the kids will need to beat. A threat level twice the number of kids is normal. So if we have 3 kids, it will be 6, 4, 8, and so on. So that's normal. 3 times the number of kids is hard, and 4 times the number of kids is almost impossible. Don't use NPC's special abilities in extended trouble. This is included in the threat level. Sure. Step 3. Make a plan. The kids decide what they want to do, agree upon which skills each one will use, and in what order they will then act to make their rolls. The kids get to choose which skills to use, but the game master can disallow any clearly unreasonable skill use. 4 is play the scenes, so each kid gets a scene to act and roll for their chosen skill. Successes go towards reaching the threat level, but it can also be used for bonus effects. If there's time, a kid may roll for lead to create a dice pool instead of adding towards the threat. Oh, that must be a special kind of a stunt, right? And that's interesting. It feels very montage-like, right? It feels very much like, yeah, the kids are planning to take on the upside down, that sort of thing, which is pretty good. Outcomes. So each kid rolls once, pushing the rolls if they want to, and when all the scenes are over, the total number of sixes is compared to the threat level of the extended trouble. If the final sum is less than half the threat level, the kids have failed completely. But if they reach more or if the number of successes reaches half or more, the kids can check additional conditions to get more sixes. Ooh, in order to reach a compromise. Each added condition counts as one extra success. The kids can also make themselves broken to succeed this way if they want to. If the kids reach the threat level this way, they will achieve part of their goal. The details, though, are up to the game master. And of course, then, if they reach the threat level without checking any extra conditions, they achieve their goal and overcome trouble. Okay, so that's quite a nice, simple, like, and I quite like the different levels of success, or the different tiers of success there, that you can really push yourself with that conditions. That's quite interesting. Okay, and then we're going to look at the skills. So here's some bonus effects. We won't go through every single one of them, but it's pretty good. So if we take that first one, the ability to sneak, is that if you rolled more than one success, you can give a success to another kid. You find something unexpected or more of what you're looking for. Nice. You can give a success. Usually it's probably going to give a success to another kid, right? For most of these. Pin your opponent for that force body one. You avoid any collateral damage. I like it. They're not too mechanically like +1. She says, looking at this one. Like, move, body. You impress someone, nobody notices you. That's quite nice little flavoursome ones there. It isn't enough for you to say you use a skill. You need to say what you do in order to get the roll. This could be done by having a conversation in-game or describing your actions. How you study a dinosaur with the binoculars, or how you open up the top of a robot with a hammer and a screwdriver and telling the other players what it looks like inside. Nice. Okay, let's manipulate there. I'm trying to read it. Oh, so tinker, so the game master will tell you, oh wait, this breaks it down, right? It breaks it down into the different, so you can either build or manipulate. I see something different there. No, what am I doing? Oh, you can have some bonus effects when you tinker. Let's read out the tinker stuff. And so tinker is the ability to build and manipulate machines and other mechanical items, and it splits it up into build and tinker. So build, the game master will tell you what it takes to build something. Some examples, what might be needed is you need a certain item, you need lots of time, you need new tools. When you have what you need, you roll to overcome the trouble by actually making the thing. If the roll is successful, you write down that the object as an item with the bonus of 1. And there's bonus effects of like, it is more durable, it does more than expected, more discreet than expected. Nice. And manipulate, it can also be used to break, use, or jury-rig mechanical items to pick locks and drive motor vehicles. Sometimes you have to use calculate first to figure out how to do it. Okay. Avoiding attacks. Sometimes an NPC tries to hurt or manipulate you. In such situations, describe how you would try to avoid the trouble and roll for the relevant skill. If it's a physical attack, like a punch to the face, move is most often used. If an NPC is doing something relational, like seducing you, okay, or telling you lies, use charm. I think it's unlikely if you're playing in a game with underage people. If an NPC, I would never do that with an NPC. Just FYI. I think like sort of trying to charm you or trying to manipulate you or maybe gaslight you. We've got to just be a little bit careful. In situations where you need to rely on wits to understand something in time to avoid it, roll comprehend. And in situations where a sharp eye is required, like when you are walking into an ambush, roll investigate. Sure. And I see there with program and tech as well, they've got create and manipulate as well. So it's a little bit more, I guess with tech, it's a little bit more like you're creating something, so a bit more in terms of breaking stuff and different conditions. Like you need to have like certain item to create something. So I get that. That's a nice splitting up of stuff. What did it say for? Let's go to heart. The heart lead, because it talked about this earlier. So the ability to make your friends work together to help them focus on tasks at hand in difficult situations and soothe them when they feel scared or confused. If you have time with the other kids, you may inspire and prepare them for a difficult situation. You roll to overcome trouble and your successes become a dice pool. You may, in the upcoming scenes, distribute the bonus dice to kids when they roll to overcome trouble, but only if they do as you say. You cannot give these dice to yourself. Oh, it's almost like bardic inspiration. Oh, that's quite good. If you fail to lead, you must check a condition and ask the kids how the relationship has been hurt. There may be only one dice pool active at one time. You cannot have more than one leader. That's quite clever, actually. Yeah. Lead is so good. Yeah, I'm actually like, ooh, that's quite a cool, like, extra thing that if it was, yeah, it's not special. Like, for example, if one person, one mystery is the leader, and then something happens that we're not, like, relying on or not having them constantly having to be the leader for each mystery. So it almost shows growth as well, depending on the characters. So that's pretty cool. So I see. So if you have, I see. So it doubles the dice. That's quite cool, isn't it? If you spend time privately with another kid giving them advice and comfort, you may heal one of their conditions. To overcome trouble, if you succeed, the condition is healed. You cannot heal broken kids using this skill. My question, then, how do you heal conditions? I'm guessing it's just like time away from the mystery and it just magically gets taken up. If it's only through leading can you sort of do that, you can take one. Like, if you're broken, is that just you out of the scene then? I assume so. And then we've got some other ones here. Comprehend mind. When to know what? There are 4 skills to get information. Comprehend, investigate, calculate, and empathize. In some cases, they will overlap. That's what I was saying earlier. The game master and the players should decide which skill is appropriate in any given situation. And in some cases, you may choose the better of 2 skills. The GM has final say. Right. And I think that's it. I seem to can't move any further. I think that must be the final page if I go to page 2. Yeah, that's it. That is it. We've come to the end of the booklet. How interesting. All right then. Well, let us. Oh look. Oh, see. So I didn't show it with the 2 spread before, but look at these. The header images we can get. Isn't that great? So good. Yeah, big fan of that. And thank God the PDF can actually show that. 'Cause more often than not, it doesn't show it. But that's just because of the way I've set up the PDF. Some great. Oh, that's it. I love that one. Like, I know there's an art book out there, but it'd be nice to have postcards with these on. Anyway, there you go. So let's do. We've got 10 minutes. I need to wrap up. Okay, so friends, what do we think of Tales from the Loop? Pros. Very straightforward system. Like anything with Year Zero engine, there's not too many like things to think about. It's like one of the most basic versions of the system. I think Vaesen is probably it's slightly easier because you don't have look points like you do have here, but the look points are quite nice, and it's clearly aimed towards. It's aimed at people who may be new to role-playing games in general, but it gives people options to succeed. Clearly this game wants people to succeed and doesn't want to punish people for not succeeding. Like, you've got that, the item thing, the iconic item. You've got pride, you've got luck, you've got push the roll. So that's 4 different ways to like sort of improve your result, which is really good. Helping each other as well. So that's really nice. I love the settings. Again, I quite liked with the starter set, it gave us, 3 or 4 pages of like both the US and Swedish settings. But that was enough to be like, here's what to think about. With like, your characters if you're going to play in either setting. And I think that's so important because like sometimes we come to these starter sets and you're like, I want to know more about the actual world, but not like all the ins and outs and stuff. And I quite liked how here it's like, here's what it would like growing up in this alternate 80s. Something to think about if you either lived through the 80s or experienced it via watching TV or movies. Excuse me. I think the design of it looks really good. Like the orange and yellow are quite good. All the text is readable and straightforward. Really good graphic design there. I like the little additions of the paper, especially with that little symbol there of the loop of the company, which is really good. I think, and I know I say this every time, because I'm very bad at it, I think it would be good if we had a pronunciation guide for certain things. And this comes from me who just can't pronounce anything at all. I think it would be nice to have it so that, we've got an idea of what... Because my worry would be is that people don't play the Swedish setting, they just go for the American setting because they're maybe easier to pronounce or more familiar verbiage or words. And I know that's not true at all. I don't think that's true at all. But I think anything you like, let's just make it as accessible as possible to anyone. Here's a quick pronunciation guide of the main terms or in the lore. That I would find that quite helpful myself. I do like the cover of this rulebook. And I quite like, it just kind of stands out. It would be nice if it was like an actual thing on the actual scenario as well. Scenario itself is only 17 pages, by the way. The character sheet is fine. We've got some information there as well. Interesting. So we've got Maria and Kelly. So that would be the alternate if you're using the US version. Timmy, Friedrich, Chad. And look at those red shorts, huh? Isabella, Patricia, Linda, and Erin. That's it. Seem very normal sounding names. I'll be honest. Like it doesn't feel. Again, saying this as someone who isn't Swedish, there are definitely more Swedish names that you could have put in here. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's just like, the 80s. There was more likely to have Marias in Sweden than they would be in the US. I think you can switch either names there. There's obviously nothing about pronouns as well per se. I'm reading through. These are the things I've just sort of read to you as using the I pronoun, which is good. They're using the calling the game master she. I quite like. That's quite. I'm very pleased with that. It'd be nice if we changed pronouns throughout, perhaps. It'd be nice to have options for pronouns here. It doesn't look like you can per se, which is fine. Just explain anchors there. Just have a favourite song. That's quite nice. Anchor. I wonder what that. Again, maybe that's discussed later on in maybe the scenario as well. But there we go. That is Tales from the Loop. You can grab your copy from the Free League website as always. This is the starter kit, as I said, and you can grab that on Drive-Thru RPG for the low price of around £3.80 just now, or £2.50 if you get it before midnight, because it is a Game Master's sale all the way out through March 10th, which is when this is going out. Let us move quickly back because I've got to go do some stuff. Thank you so much for watching this. Sorry if it was a bit rambly at times, as always, but very much appreciate you being out there and watching these things. I very much enjoy doing them, and it makes me read a lot of the games that I want to play. I really do want to play this game. I do want to make a UK set. I want to find out. I just need more. So I think I will check out that core book as a result. So I do think the starter set is a good way of getting into role-playing games. I think it's a good advert for Tales from the Loop in general, which is quite interesting. But yeah, very straightforward, and the dice roll, it wants you to succeed. It's very good. A lovely rules reminder, appreciated, to be honest. Oh, well, thank you, JC Darcy. Well, I look forward to whatever this announcement is coming out. But no, thank you so much for being part of this. As always, if you're like, Fiona, what are you up to? What's going on? There's What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast where we do lots of different systems. I've got some interviews coming out just now. I'm hoping to get back into actual plays, hopefully in a couple of weeks' time. Fingers crossed, all the things crossed. I would highly recommend checking out Horde of Tales, which is coming out this month at time of streaming, where Horde of Tales, they're doing their Women in Gaming Month, where a ton of fantastic femme talent across the tabletop RPG space is going to be playing lots of different very cool RPGs. Myself included, myself, Subbar, I'm also there too. We're going to be doing Vaesen, which we've covered on this channel before. We're going to do Vaesen this coming Wednesday at time streaming, so come check that out as well. Come check out all the stuff. We've got some panels as well, and it's just a great thing, and we'll be raising money for charity as well, so go and check that out, all on the Hordes of Tales stuff. Maybe I'll have a quick link on Nightbot if I do this again before the end of the month. I'll make sure to add those up as well. But Fiona, if you're like Fiona, what are you talking about? It's only D&D. Why would I talk about anything else? We do have the DM's book club. And weekly book club podcast where we talk about some Dungeons and Dragons and discuss how we might include them in our role-playing campaigns. And we are in the middle of doing some pre-recording for our new travel book club. We're looking forward to going through the inner planes. We did the outer planes last year, or year before, and now we're going into the inner planes, which is very, very exciting. We're about a good third of the way through that just now, but that's not yet out on recording. We'll put that out soon. Maybe video, depends if I get around to editing it. But we've also started actual book club stuff. Hopefully this Wednesday coming out, we'll be doing the Legend of Dritz. Like, we're starting that series essentially, and we did Homeland. We recorded Homeland and we read through that, and I really enjoyed it. I'm halfway through the second book now. I think I might listen, because I use Audible books for it because I don't have time to actually physically read. But I think I'm enjoying it. So you can come and check out those when they're out. So What Am I Rolling and the DM's Book Club, wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it. Thank you so much, my wonderful friends. I might be doing some more this week. I haven't decided on dates yet, but obviously if it is, I'm sure I'll put them out there. But no matter where you are, thank you so much for watching. Play more games as always. And I'm going to find the off button, which is here. I'm going to wave like a loon. And I'll see you soon. Bye.